Stream us live at sauga960am.ca. You are listening to New Theory Radio.
Hello and welcome to another edition of New Theory Radio, here live on News Talk Sauga 960 AM. I am your host, Nav Nanwa, and happy Sunday to you and yours. And this is the show where we theorize on all things current affairs, pop culture, and everyday life. We have a jam-packed edition of NTR for you this week. We have a lot of special guests lined up for the next 2 hours here on News Talk Sauga 960 AM. We will first be joined by the music collective Stay Out Late. Yes, I got my homie Scotty IV, Tremayne, Charlie Noir, as well as Jay Parks. They're going to be joining me over the next, I'd say, hour and a half. And if you don't know who Stay Out Late is, they are a fantastic music collective, and actually they would actually consider themselves an all-purpose media company specializing in artist management, music production, innovative marketing, and cutting-edge promotion. They got a massive roster of amazing artists, and I thought it'd be awesome to get them in studio to help me talk about a few topics from the week. We are going to be theorizing about the following. We are going to be talking about LeBron James. Yes, if you've been paying attention to all the sports news this week, you know that LeBron was getting some heat this week for some remarks that he made in response to the Houston coach Daryl Morey's tweet in support of the current uprising that's taking place in Hong Kong. And the NBA was actually playing some exhibition games in China. And when LeBron was asked about this tweet, he decided to answer in a way that was not appreciated by a lot of individuals, and a lot of people are actually calling LeBron out for being very hypocritical when it came to his stance. So we are going to be theorizing about LeBron's remarks and whether everybody in the room feels like he's sold out, or whether he was backed into a corner. You know, is he being hypocritical? Is it a double standard when it comes to athletes? When we announced that we were talking about this, we got some people on social media that chimed in as well. So we'll definitely mention that here on the show as well, because I'm going to be in a room full of amazing artists. We're going to talk about Eminem. Yes, Eminem, specifically his beat selection. So one thing that also occurred this week is Tyler, the Creator, who's a very popular rapper, appeared on the podcast Broken Record, which is a podcast by Malcolm Gladwell, who's a fantastic author, known to be the author of one of my favorite books called Outliers, as well as popular music producer, legendary music producer Rick Rubin. And on this podcast, as Tyler, the Creator, was talking about his album, he mentioned that Eminem picks really bad beats. So I'm going to get Stay Out Late's perspective on that. You know, I know Scotty IV, I've known him for a long time. I know he's a big Eminem fan. So I'm going to get their perspective on whether or not they feel that when Eminem makes music, does he purposely choose bad beats because he wants to emphasize his lyrics? Is that maybe one of the reasons why Eminem's music in the tail end of his career hasn't been as revered as the music earlier in his career? And is that even just a normal hip hop strategy when it comes to music? Do some rappers choose maybe not so banging beats just because they want to really emphasize their lyrics? And is it a strategy to not allow the music kind of overpower what the listener is listening to? And then another thing I want to talk about with the group is the greatest hip hop songs of all time. The BBC came out with the list of the top 100 hip hop songs of all time. So I plan on going through this list with the crew to get their perspective on it. Every time there's a list, it's always up to discussion. So I thought it'd be great to talk to them all about it. Especially because lately a lot of individuals were coming out with top 50 rapper lists of all time, which I thought was kind of hilarious. So we'll see what the crew is going to be saying about that. And then a little later on the show, we're going to be sticking with the music theme, as we are going to be joined by Phil Vessel, who is the artistic director of the inaugural Sauga City Music Festival that's taking place next week at the Living Arts Center. The Sauga City Music Festival runs from October 25th to the 27th, features a quite the lineup of artists. We're not only representing Mississauga, but representing Brampton and representing Caledon. It spotlights hip-hop, R&B, soul, and other contemporary fusions. And outside of being a festival that encompasses music, they're actually going to be doing, I believe, a film showing as well. And they're also going to be doing some panel conversations involving some artists around the arts and culture scene. So we're going to be getting Phil in studio, and he's going to be talking about that as well. We are going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we are going to be joined by the Stale Late Collective here in studio. You are tuned to New Theory Radio on News Talk, Sauga 960 AM. We'll be right back. Yeah, that's a Dusty Loose production. We are live here on News Talk Sauga 960 AM on New Theory Radio. My name is Nav Nanwa. I am your host, and this is the show where we theorize on all things current affairs, pop culture, and everyday life. And I'm very honored to have my peoples in the room right now. These are individuals that I've worked with for a number of different years, and it's been this is like a long time, like long overdue process right here.
Yeah, this is beautiful. I think like this time that we're in right now is like a real coming of age for all of us. You
100%,
know what I mean? Like, it's good to see where we are and that we're talking on these platforms and that everybody can hear us, like, you know, have these conversations that we've been having for so long.
Exactly. I got my homies from the Stale Late Collective. We got the voice you just heard is my homie Tremayne.
Yeah.
And then sitting beside him is Scotty IV.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then we got someone else. I've actually first time I met him, and he's been part of Stale Late for a while. Charlie Noir. Charlie, welcome, man.
Hey, you already know, fam.
Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna have to mind us if we're not like super on point, because we had a pretty crazy party last night.
Yeah, jungle up at the shop, right?
Yep.
Yeah. No, and that's the amazing thing about Stale Ladies. You guys do not just music, but even when I was looking up the formal definition online, and I wonder who wrote this. I wonder if it was Jay or Eric. But you guys are known as an all-purpose media company.
Facts.
That is awesome. I love that.
I'm not sure if that was Jay or Eric's.
That was Jay, I like.
Oh man.
But yeah, I love it. We'll keep that for the show. But no, you know what? We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about, because a lot of stuff actually happened this week, and I thought it'd be kind of cool to get all three of your perspectives and theories on LeBron James. You know, obviously this week was an interesting week for him. You know, the NBA was under a lot of scrutiny based on everything that's taking place in China right now, and you know, the Houston coach Daryl Morey actually ended up tweeting a tweet that was in support of Hong Kong, and everyone knows the unrest that's taking place in China with Hong Kong. And then when LeBron was questioned, he really his response to this was very much around him sort of downplaying Daryl's tweet and saying that maybe he shouldn't have commented, when at the same time LeBron himself has been very outspoken when it comes to Kaepernick, when it comes to social justice, when it comes to stuff happening in America, happening with Donald Trump. So a lot of people are calling LeBron a hypocrite. So I thought I'd love to get all three of your perspectives on this, because whether you're a ball fan or not, I think this puts, you know, an athlete or an artist in an interesting predicament when it comes to them being caught like this. Do you feel like LeBron sold out? Like, do you feel like the way he's handled this situation wasn't necessarily ideal, considering how he's handled previous situations? Maybe Trey, will begin with you.
Yeah. To be honest, I feel like LeBron just took the God bless America approach. You know what I mean? Like, whatever is good for America is what he's going to speak on. Because, like, we know the Chinese market for basketball has been developed for like the last 30 years.
Oh, it's crazy.
Right? And it's like $1 billion market. So like anything that's going to affect that, which like that's what happened with the Morey situation, right? Like that tweet like literally shut down everything that they were doing in China for like the games and everything, you know what I mean? And I feel like from his standpoint, he really didn't think it was going to go that far, because like, if I'm not mistaken, he tweeted and within 4 hours took down the tweet, but he got hit like 20,000 like tweets back at him from
totally.
bots and obviously like the Chinese government. So
all that.
It was like insane.
You had like Chinese institutions actually like stop partnerships with the NBA because of Daryl's tweet.
Madness.
And then, and some would say like, I think when it comes to LeBron's response, I think people probably expect it. We've had this conversation on the show in the past where it comes to athletes and artists, and because they're in a certain position, them always being looked on to be like, to have the answer or be an activist all of a sudden. I don't know, Scotty.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I was watching maybe a Breakfast Club interview. Not trying to plug that show because this is the best show.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
But it was 50 Cent. It was 50 Cent. He was talking about how he can say whatever he wants on Twitter or wherever he feels like, because his brand is different.
Yeah.
And whenever he wants to, he can take that position of I'm a rapper, I'm not a mogul. Like if it's Jay-Z, if it's Diddy, it's like this is a mogul, this is somebody who's supposed to be moving society forward. But as rich as 50 is and as much influence as he has, he still claims I'm just a rapper, so I can say whatever the hell it is I want to. So if you're gonna take that stance and be like I'm the statue, I'm the representative for this issue or this point of view, you kind of have to be ready to take those shots for any topic that comes up. So
100%.
I kind of feel like if you're LeBron and you're going to speak about issues in general, then you got to be ready to take that heat.
100%.
Yeah, and that's the fascinating thing too, is a lot of people are saying, okay, LeBron right now, based on how he reacted, is really just thinking about the money. He's probably because as of right now, when you look at the salary cap in the NBA, it is quite a lot, and it's crazy. A lot of that money is probably coming from China because, as Trey, as you were mentioning, China is growing when it comes to popularity of the sport. Actually, when you look at overall popularity of most sports, specifically basketball, China and India are probably number one, and there's actually a lot of stuff happening in India right now too. But it's fascinating to see. A lot of people were really focusing on, okay, well, LeBron's only answering it like this because he's probably just worried about his bottom line.
100%.
You think so?
People are allowed to be hypocrites, fam.
Yeah, you think
so?
I love
first
that.
off, shout out Casino Costa. He's part of Stay Out Late Collective too. Couldn't be here.
Yeah.
Bam, bam, bam. But, in our day-to-day lives, you have hypocrite moments, and people want to jump on him so hard. Like, look at all the stuff he has stand up for. Like, loud you. Like, he made a quick slip up on Twitter, and okay, you should know the power of your fingers nowadays. Your fingers have power. Cool, but like.
But that's what I mean. That's where you just gotta be like,
if he's thinking about the bread, let him think about the bread. He has a whole entire family doing all these things.
Everybody tries to bury everything and be this perfect. Like
I know.
To your point, we're imperfect. So whatever you slip
are you the same person you were a year ago?
I'm not the same person I was this morning.
You know what I'm saying?
But
like you may believe one thing, but then like something may come up and be like you know what I'm saying?
But I don't think that's what, like, I think the basis of this issue really has a lot to do with, like, when you are talking about, like, the capitalist, like, state that the NBA is, and, like, they didn't go to Hong Kong to make it better. They didn't go to China to make it better.
Facts.
They went because there's a huge market there that they want to take advantage of. But if you're going to associate yourself with another country, know what's going on in that country enough to be able to have those conversations.
That's true too.
You know what I mean? Like, that's where I feel like the NBA messed up. Like, you're going over there in the middle of this super heated situation and you're not prepping everybody for what's about to happen. Like, shut down social media if you need to or whatever, but like prep people, because like that was huge for them. Like, this is huge for them.
Well, and that's where the heat's coming on the NBA, because when I think a few years ago when there was this law against the LGBTQ community and then in Charlotte in North Carolina, they moved the All-Star game out. They're like, we don't want to deal with that. Then they brought it back, I guess, when tensions were a little lower, but they were saying, like, when it comes to things that are taking place in America, the NBA is not scared to be progressive and not scared to be like, okay, you know what, we're going to take a stance.
Exactly.
But then when it comes to things involving sort of international expansion and the bottom line, like profit, they're like, oh, well, maybe it's not that bad. It's very similar, because like, I'm a big wrestling fan. It's very similar to the issues that WWE is facing right now, because but they're doing shows in Saudi Arabia. And there's a lot of interest, a lot of hate around that too. And that Saudi Arabia money is the WWE is making like gangbusters money
Yeah,
right now
I know.
because of that Saudi money. Like they're doing 2 shows a year. Like every wrestler that's been a part of those shows has been getting major payouts.
Heck yeah.
And it's tough because like they're going back to their stock. There's people that hold stocks and they're like, yo, well, do you not want a good return? Because if we don't do this, you're kind of missing out.
Yeah.
It's an interesting place to be in.
Trust me.
Would you guys ever like? I mean, not to put you guys on the spot, but because music is in the same vein of sports in regards to its universal or worldly acclaim. Like, would that ever affect any type of opportunity for you? Or if you were asked to perform somewhere where maybe there was something happening, like, would you ever be in a position where you might say no because, it probably doesn't fit well with sort of your political beliefs?
I think it depends because that was the debate with the whole NFL thing with Travis Scott doing the halftime show.
Yeah.
Like it's easy to say when you're not in that position where this show is gonna make you a bag that can feed your family and keep you straight for the rest of the year. It's easy to be like, nah, I wouldn't do that because I'm against X, Y, and Z. But if you work at McDonald's, do you really support the fact that they are basically selling poison to people?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Think about it that way. Like it's a job at the end of the day. It's how you decide to eat. You know what I mean?
I do think to me, it does also have to do because when it comes to music is so close to me in regard to being a reflection of who I am. Like it does affect me a little bit where I do consider those things a lot more. Like even when it comes to a business standpoint and like taking certain shows, like if I don't like the people on the bill, if I don't think that it's going to be like produced properly, I'll walk away from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. My image means a lot.
It does. It's an interesting fight because you're almost trying to balance being able to provide for your family, being able to provide for the actual profession that you're in, versus something that you maybe have a personal connection to, and you're like, this doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Like
morals versus money has been the longest
Debate.
From the beginning.
self struggle for the longest.
it totally has, man.
Bro, because when you're looking at that bag and it's like heavy.
For those who don't understand that, when you're looking at the bag and it's heavy means like when the paycheck is of a large amount. If there's a lot of zeros on that paycheck.
I love that. I love
Dog,
that.
your morals might, I don't know. So
Yeah.
for me, I think there are definitely certain things that I would be like, nah, that's not worth it. But if I'm keeping it a buck, if the
Sometimes
bag
you
is
gotta
heavy
do
enough,
it.
certain things.
Yeah,
like you
everyone
said,
has a
you know,
price. Everyone has a price.
It does, yeah. Like Ted DiBiase said, man, everyone has a price, but that's another interesting thing too, because there's a lot of people that are like, okay, obviously there's big issues happening in a country, but why must people that are fans of basketball in that country suffer at the same time? Like that was one thing that did come up. I did see someone say that, where it's like, sure, the NBA there's a lot happening in Hong Kong and China, but why must the NBA sort of penalize a Chinese fan who's probably been looking forward to this one game?
Well, it's not the NBA, right?
Yeah.
If they lose all their endorsements and they're putting all of their people under like huge jeopardy out of being there and all the stuff that's going on, it's like you can't help but be like, yo, do we do this today and have some crazy things happen, or do we step away and like
because then you're responsible for all those crazy things that may or may not happen.
Yeah, that was true.
Because like the thing, what was that? What they were responding to? What's his name? Maury with? Like they were like, sorry, your mother's dead or something. Was like what it translated to.
Yeah, it was like,
bro, I'm out.
That's madness.
I'm out. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like,
it got crazy, man.
yeah, you know what I mean?
Even at the Raptors, Nets.
Yeah.
I know.
It got over the man retweeted a Yao Ming, like, you know what I mean?
It's
like,
crazy.
It's crazy.
Like even at the Nets Raptors preseason game in Brooklyn, like there was an activist that bought 200 seats, and they all showed up in like in Hong Kong protest gear, trying to make a statement. Like it's nuts, man. It's going to be an interesting sort of start of the season for the NBA. But
oh man,
just on LeBron, like a lot of people I've seen that were sort of appreciating LeBron for who he is kind of turn the other way this week. Like does LeBron's image or does his legacy change in any of your eyes, or do you think this will eventually boil over?
It's gonna be a
It'll
blip,
boil
bro.
over.
Yeah,
It'll boil over. I think
it happens to everybody, right?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, and it will boil over. but it will be something that I feel like will be a talking point for a long time, because I don't think anything is blown up this big in a minute. Like, this is
especially the next time he decides to speak out against something in the U.S.,
heck yeah.
right?
Heck
Like,
yeah.
people are going to be teasing him.
I think that's the conversation though too. Is next time something happens in the U.S., right? So this whole situation was more of an international problem. So there's the ability for you to look at it like that's other, like that's over there.
I hope
God
he doesn't
bless.
let it stop him from talking out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, like, dog, if that's how you feel, like, I feel that you should say what's on your, like, you know what I mean?
Facts,
because,
man.
like, the argument is, if you're always gonna stand up always.
Yeah.
But Yo, I don't know. Like, people want to, like, hold you to things for the rest of your life for some reason, bro. Like, I don't understand that.
There's no redemption. There's no redemption.
Social media,
bro.
Everyone sees everything. Everything is like, is
and that's what I was
reported.
about to say. Is like, I feel like that's the beautiful thing. Like, it is really God bless social media, because it runs so fast that, like, by tomorrow we all forgot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
What are we even talking about? What are we even talking
about?
I'm trying to think what else. If there's anything else we should touch on this. I think for the most part, you guys have like. I think by the time the NBA season starts on Tuesday and people start to see just all the momentum that the Lakers get, because they're
I was
supposed
about
to
to
have a
say,
good
when the
time
Lakers
you
just
drop
start, like,
40 on somebody.
beating people, different topics.
I know it's gonna all change, man. It's gonna all change, and I'm actually, you know what? But I'm really curious to see how the NBA decides to treat this in the future, because there are some people that feel that the NBA shouldn't have allowed players to even speak on this, because it's like, hey, it's an NBA issue. The NBA was the one that chose to do games in this country. They're the ones that are like have relationships with these different groups.
Yeah.
Why must you put the players in front of the media to talk on something they're probably not familiar with, right? Like, it's crazy to see that. But, you know, with LeBron being the guy that he is, I guess he wanted to take that leadership position. Yeah, I feel like Jay wants to say something. Oh, he's not mine. This is Jay Parks, everybody.
I was just gonna say, if LeBron drops 30 points a game this season, no one's gonna care.
That's
facts.
No one's
As soon
gonna
as
care
you
in the
drop
States,
40,
though.
the first game.
Yeah.
No
Well,
one's gonna care in the
that first
States.
game, I think, is against the Clippers, right?
Yeah.
It got
Battle of
Is
the
that how they're jumping off?
Yeah.
So so you already know that's his plan too. I'm sure he knows that too.
Yeah.
He's like, yo, I'm gonna dump 30 points on the Clippers, and y'all gonna forget about this shit.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Much. Yeah. What else do we got to talk about quickly? Because I do want to save the Eminem topics. I feel like we can do like a whole hour on that.
Yeah, we probably gonna have to. We're gonna have to sit down and do a whole day. We'll go through each album.
And I also want to play the snippet because I want you guys to hear what Tyler had to say. Let's talk about you guys as a group.
Yeah.
Obviously, when it comes to Stay Out Late, the collective versus all of you individually as artists, that's the one thing I've noticed in hip hop is collectives have always been an important part with how people enter the scene and how they continue to stay relevant. I actually finally watched a Mike's and Men, which is the Wu-Tang documentary. Amazing. I'm so happy the Air Canada actually. I normally don't like Air Canada, but I'll give them credit for having that on their en route system. I was able to watch that.
Is it really?
Yeah, man. Ooh. I watched all 4 episodes. I've gone back from France to Toronto.
Well done.
And you know, I find that what you guys do as an all-purpose media company is. I find that you know you guys obviously do a lot of fantastic work when it comes to not only supporting each other's releases, but making sure that when you guys are out at shows, that everyone has their time to shine. So, just wanted to kind of talk about the sort of collective mentality and what you guys need to consider when it comes to moving forward. And you know, for example, when it comes to Mike's and Men, like RZA was very prominent in saying that, you know, when Wu-Tang started, anyone that was getting a solo deal was still a part of Wu-Tang, but they were free to do whatever they wanted. So just wanted to open that up and just get some perspective. Maybe Scotty, we'll begin with you.
Yeah, no, it's crazy that you mentioned of Mike's and Men, because that's like behind the scenes. Like we don't really. I mean, we try to be as transparent as possible, obviously, but that's one of the things that we reference as a group. Is the whole Wu-Tang come up and like their success, because we kind of have something similar in that there's so many different members in the group that are very talented and very capable of doing powerful things on their own.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I think the success of and this is my take on it, but I think the success of Wu-Tang was because it was like separate entities. So you have Wu-Tang as a group, that's one entity, and then you have like RZA on his own, Ghostface on his own, Method Man on his own, right? And they made sure that each individual person was showcased early enough in your awareness of the whole squad that they didn't get swallowed up into the group, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
For some reason, everything I talk about goes back to 50 Cent. I don't know why, but
hey, man, 50 Cent's full of knowledge, man.
He's like, so 50 Cent releases Get Rich or Die Trying. It sells 13 million or whatever,
like
some
amount.
crazy number. And usually when you have a moment like that, the next logical thing to do would be like, okay, cool, let's rinse, repeat, and let's do that again. You know what I mean? Because it was so successful. But instead of him doing his next solo project, the second thing that came out was the G-Unit project.
Yeah, and that was the same year, too. Like, a lot of people forget. It was the same year.
Beg for Mercy. So that's the reason why we know who Lloyd Banks is. We know who Tony Yayo is. We know who Young Buck is. But if you look at, like, Nelly and the Saint Lunatics, can you name two of the Saint Lunatics? Can you?
I actually, you know what? BET has, like, this YouTube series about all these acts that what happened to and I saw one on Murphy Lee, man.
No way.
I saw one on Murphy Lee, and it was an interesting look because he was like the youngest, and he was talking about how, like, when obviously Nelly was like the Trojan horse and all of it, like he was the one that was starting it off, and the reason why everyone defaulted to Murphy because he was younger. All the people that would collaborate with Nelly really liked being around him, and he almost felt like he was forced into it.
Right.
But he mentioned that the Saint Lunatics songs never like blew up.
Yeah, because every member of the Saint Lunatics was just like, that's Nelly's person, because the showcase was just Nelly. Let's rinse Nelly until we can't make any more out of Nelly. Now here are the Saint Lunatics, but nobody cares anymore. You know what I mean? Which is the same thing as like D12. It's Eminem. And then there's so much Eminem that now the D12, you don't really, can you name three members of D12? Not many people can, you know what I mean? But with G-Unit, it was 50 Cent, and the next thing immediately after was G-Unit as a squad. So in saying that, I say that to say for us, it's a similar approach where we want to make sure that we showcase Stay Out Late as a collective as much as we showcase each individual artist as a collective, which is why you will see Charlie's headlining on a show, or I'm headlining on a show, or Trey's headlining on a show. That way, the first thing that pops doesn't swallow up everything else. You know what I mean?
And that's heavy, man, because I noticed when you guys also perform, like, you guys are each other's hype men, too, when it comes to your individual tracks. Right. And then you guys obviously have your tracks together. Like, it just looks so cohesive. Like, it's a nice cohesive package that for anybody who wants to, buy into a Stay Out Late show, or buy into merch, or buy into what you guys are doing, they know that you guys are like a package deal. But you guys also individually have your own followings, your own careers. Like, Trey, you were just in Montreal doing shows. Scotty, you just did shows. I think Charlie, you just came up with some new music as well. Like, all you guys have been able to progress your own movements, and it all like fits under this umbrella, which is great, man. Which not a lot of people are able to do. Like, sure, you have like that one model, like the ASAP model, where everyone's name is ASAP in the crews. That's the one thing linking everybody. I think YB and Corden has the same thing, or Corday has the same thing. I think P&B Rock has the same thing. Like, everyone has that one distinct thing that kind of allows them to be a part of a crew, but you guys have been able to do that without having Stay Out Late in your name.
and I think that's the one thing that kind of helps and also hurts at the same time about that is when I hear Ferg, I hear ASAP Ferg. You can't see Ferg without that ASAP, right?
Exactly.
Whereas with us, it's like, if you're just a Scotty IV fan, you can see me and I can exist in my own world outside of Stay Out Late. It's still possible. So that's, what kind of helps at the same time.
Trey, any thoughts, man?
Nah, you covered it.
Well, on that note, actually, Charlie, any thoughts? Any thoughts on that, man?
Late Scotty.
Obviously, a lot of the music that Stay Out Late puts out right now is very hip-hop centric. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to talk about another interesting comment that was made this week. So Tyler, the Creator, appeared on the Rick Rubin, Malcolm Gladwell podcast, Broken Record. If you haven't checked that out, I urge you to check it out. Podcast.
It's fire. Broken Record's fire.
And I'm actually, and I thought the Tyler episode was very good, considering Igor and the success he's been getting with that album this year. But he's been getting a lot, not really backlash, but there's been a lot of conversation regarding a snippet from this podcast. So we're gonna play the snippet, and then I'm gonna get all you guys to talk about it. So here's Tyler the Creator and Rick Rubin from Broken Record.
Is there any music or artist you could think of that you've heard or listened to because of the lyrics? Yeah, you got people like Eminem, like Cassidy, the rapper. That's stuff that I'm like, I wonder what pockets they're going to wrap this in and what they're going to say and the punchlines and things like that. Because Eminem he picked some of the worst beats ever. Even Ludacris sometimes picks shitty beats, but their energy and their cool, witty lines is what made the songs cool.
Right. That was Tyler the Creator from Broken Record with Rick Rubin. Talking about Eminem's beat selection. Obviously, the context there was around, because just to provide context, if you haven't heard that podcast, before that, Rick and Tyler were talking about how the role that lyrics play in music. And Tyler openly admitted that lyrics are sometimes secondary or even third when it comes to him putting a song together. And Rick Rubin had asked him, okay, well, what are some artists that you listen to that really put emphasis on lyrics? And he mentioned Eminem. I know Eminem and Tyler haven't been seeing eye to eye over the last few years, but one thing that was consistent was
mentioned
beef between them.
Yo, before we get into this, I also want to say he mentioned Cassidy. Like, shout out Cassidy for
Cassidy
real.
the problem.
Oh man, come
He made
on.
a list. He made a time. He made a list. Cassidy made a list.
But just to that's funny. Yeah, you did mention Cassidy the problem. But there's always been this conversation around Eminem. I find that Nas is in this conversation too, where some rappers who are very lyrical purposely choose really bad beats because they want to emphasize the lyrics, and that's the point Tyler was making.
See, that's what I was gonna say. I don't really think it's the.
Some people just have
it's
bad
on purpose.
ears, fam.
You think so?
But it's not even that. It's like you'll hear a beat and a beat will inspire you to write something. And certain beats are so good that it could be overwhelming that you just get caught up in the beat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I agree with what Tyler said. Like honestly, when I first heard about it, I thought he was saying it in a different way.
Yeah.
But I think coming from an artist perspective, I completely understand and agree with what he's saying. Like if you really break down like my name, we'll just take the first one, the My Name Is beat.
Yeah.
Like as an instrumental, like you're not gonna bump to that. Like you're not gonna and you're not gonna go to the club. But there's no what's that last Eminem joint that you turned up to in a club? You know what I mean? Like
featuring
it's not
50%.
but yeah, like he does choose beats that are whack.
Yeah.
But it's because those whack beats allow the lyrics to just shine, like they're just background music for the lyrics. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense.
There's a difference between whack and simple.
That's true
There's
too.
a difference.
That's true too.
Because I understand what you're saying, where like really intricate production, sometimes you get like lost in it, right?
Right.
But then you can pick a simpler production that still sounds good, but allows you to like get your like flows off that in a different way.
Yeah.
There's a difference between simple and a bad beat. Certain mans just have whack ears for production.
Well,
But that's the thing. Like
Like that.
Luda was part of that discussion
Yeah,
too.
discussion
because
as well, yeah.
The type of artists that they are, they tell a story, and a lot of times it's comical, right?
Yeah.
So if you listen to a beat and it sounds comical, that sounds whack. As an instrumental, it needs the lyrics on top of it to sound good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why they're whack beats. They're whack beats as whack beats because they can't stand on their own.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I feel like that's also a huge stance or like a huge conversation when it comes to like the POC community when it comes to music, because like we've in history have always seen things in a different way, and I feel like Eminem was one of the first people to come in that made it a comical thing. You know what I mean? Like nobody really liked Eminem when he first came out. At least from our standpoint, there was a lot of like kick pushback. You know what I mean? I know you've been an Eminem fan, but like there was a lot of pushback in regard to just it not being real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People being like, what are you talking about?
It's fascinating because, you know, to go to your point about the Slim Shady LP or EP, when you think about that first album, a lot of the production on that album is very, like to your point, Scotty, it's like very distinct to what Eminem was trying to do based on the overall song. Like, for example, if you were to be at a cipher, no one's gonna throw on the "Hi, my name is" beat, and everyone's gonna go on and just cipher it.
I mean, they might.
People might.
They might.
Yeah.
But you're not gonna throw on.
You're not gonna throw on "Guilty Conscience"
or something off, or something off of
I feel like when it
a
comes
Rick
to-
Ross overly produced. That no one's gonna do a cipher over that.
Yeah.
When it comes to, but that's what I'm saying. I feel like that, like who Eminem is and like his come up, he came up in battle rap. Like it has everything to do with lyrics. It has nothing to do with beat production. You know what I mean? Like it's so much emphasis is on everything he says.
It's just fascinating, man. Because then you forward to if you want to look at his catalog, like Marshall Mathers, like those beats were just hard, man. Like most of those beats were crazy.
And that's the thing. He does have beats that he's got on that are some of the best beats that I've ever heard. You know what I mean? But he's always less animated, I feel like, on those beats that are darker or they're more like there's more melody to them.
Is it as artists, is it strategic where if you know that you want to come out with a lyrical record, that you're going to want to choose a beat that's maybe not as heavy because you want people to hear what you're saying?
I don't think so. For me, anyways, I can only really speak for myself. But for me, if I hear it and it makes me want to write something, and it takes me in that direction, it just takes me in that direction. And 9 times out of 10, it will take me in that direction if it's sparse or it's quirky. It will give me that thought that makes me think of something funny or think of something quirky, which is what will turn it into that song. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. If it's like dark sounds and dark melodies, it's gonna make me think in that way. You know what I'm saying? So I can hear a beat and I'll know that this beat on its own is trash, but it will give me the idea to make the song that I think it could be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Trey.
I feel like to me, I've always been like an overly thought through person when it comes to just like everything that I release. So like I don't know, I write on everything, but unless I have a clear vision as to like how it's going to be presented visually and like the feeling that you get from beginning to end, I there's a lot of like marriage in my stuff, you know what I mean? It's like production with lyrics with, you know, the visuals and blah blah blah. So it's like it's intricate for me for sure. It's definitely not lyricism or beats or whatever, you know what I mean? Like in regard to what Tyler was saying, because Tyler is beat first, and then melodies and then lyrics, right? I'm like it's a combination where like sometimes it's one, sometimes it's the other.
I guess it really depends on what you're trying to put out. Because the one thing I find interesting about even Tyler's comments before that is I think people always assume that when you're a rapper you always think about the lyrics first because it's just rapping is such a big part of hip-hop. And then to hear someone think about the beat and the melody first is quite interesting, where it's like, oh, okay, well, you know, is this person downgrading the lyrical content?
I feel like what that is the era that we're in where a lot of people can produce for themselves, and when you have that knowledge and when you can speak that language, you can easily incorporate that, right? And I feel like also Tyler is in a space in his career where like that album Igor was completely produced by him, right? So that changes the conversation a lot because it's like, okay, well, you have to think about that. So where are you placing that? Whereas like for me, I don't produce, you know what I mean? So it's usually a collaboration. I support the production and I kind of like give ideas as to like what I want to happen here and there, but like lyrics are more important to me because that's my contribution.
The thing with lyrics is my bad.
I've never heard a production that's inspired me to write anything, fam.
Really? Okay, so what's your process?
If it's a
like,
bad
Charlie?
beat, I'm not making music to it. I don't understand what you're saying. I personally like.
So, but this is the thing.
Actually,
that's what I'm saying. To me, like, there's a difference between something simple and like a bad beat. Like this is trash. That's what I'm saying. Like to me, I don't think Eminem was purposely doing that. I think he heard a beat that he liked. And decided to rap on it.
Really?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying.
He just doesn't have a good ear for good beats. Like that.
No, but that's the thing. It's a subjective thing, right?
That's why certain mans need A&Rs to be like,
But that was a big conversation for Tupac, right? Tupac couldn't pick his own beats.
No, he couldn't.
Yo,
it was all digital underground stuff. Then Shook started choosing stuff.
Man's to find those like fire. Like, yo, to me, Rick Ross is a great example of someone that like either he has a great ear or whoever's like picking beats for him. Dog, his voice sounds great on everything he raps on. Maybe there's been like a 1-2 feature where it's like whatever, but like when it's him specifically on his stuff, I've always admired him for that because you sound amazing on everything. How you doing that?
That Rick Ross verse on Lord Knows is still like the best one.
See,
like
my thing is, I would rather sound great on a beat that other people would think is whack than miss on a beat that's great.
yeah.
Well, I think there's
Because
a lot. Sorry, go ahead.
If we're talking about Eminem, because this conversation stems from Eminem, you know what I mean? So obviously, whatever the potion that got mixed together
It
turned
worked.
out to be the right thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because a track like Without Me, like that beat on and it's like I remember that beat used to be on like a Kiss 92 morning show background song.
Yeah,
when,
that's
like, they do like a comedy
that's a morning
segment.
commute, like
yeah.
hustle bustle. And
Yeah.
But then Eminem, the way he sort of pivots on that beat and the way he raps, the things that he's talking about, the way he flows, it makes it all fit.
Right, and again, it's not that it's whack. It's just the sound is quirky, so it comes off that way.
Yeah.
But if you listen to the instrumental on its own, there's so many things in like the hook part of that beat. So I'm being a complete Eminem nerd right now, but like the hook part of that beat, there's so many instruments and so many melodies and so many sounds that's a well produced beat. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It just doesn't sound cool.
It's also a Dr. Dre beat too.
Yeah.
So like that also to me, and that's the one thing I find funny too is I remember Relapse, right? Relapse was an album. It was Eminem's first album, what, like 5-6 years, and people are like, oh yeah, Dr. Dre's producing the entire thing. Everyone's super hyped by it. Comes out, it's like 18 songs, and every one of those songs is like the most basic Dr. Dre beat, and Eminem doing some type of accent, and people were just like, no, we don't like it.
Well, I think the issue with like Dr. Dre, not issue, but like the thing about him is that he's not producing. He's not a Kanye where he's conducting, right? He's not creating an orchestra or like a choir or whatever and creating these pieces. He's really just focused on making perfect sounds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he'll go and make like a perfect like
Snare.
808 or snare or whatever, and like he'll spend the time doing that and he'll be like, that's perfect. And I feel like that's also why the beats, like the Eminem beats, sound so good because everything was crispy. You know what I mean? Like
That's true too.
You know what I mean?
Like there's those in a Dr. Dre production, there's more to it. Like the
Yeah.
sound just sounds clearer and it just sounds nicer, and you can kind of sense a lot of what's going into the music outside the beat itself. But you know what? But Eminem though, most recently in his career, has been knocked for some of his beat selections. Like you think about what's the album before
Recovery.
Recovery was okay. Then he came out
Relapse
with
Recovery. Then
he had Marshall Mathers LP2, which was okay, and then he had the one with Beyonce, that Walk on Water track. That album was horrible.
What was that album?
Oh,
Yo,
man.
careful! Don't say anything
Actually,
negative about Beyonce.
It's already been
You get canceled today, bro.
Jay-Z's the big homie.
Hold on. We're gonna pull up the Eminem discography.
I almost feel like we shouldn't. That way it just stays out of my memory.
and then he came out with the one last year, the one where he's like was going after
The
everybody.
Kamikaze
yeah.
one.
Which actually Kamikaze
That wasn't bad, bro.
No, I like
that
that.
wasn't bad still.
Yeah.
It got a 1-2 run from me still.
Yeah.
Revival was
That's so
I'm
crazy.
not afraid.
I actually mentally just repressed that whole thing.
Everybody.
You know what it is, and that's the thing too. Is like what M.
That was horrible, bro.
What M was good at was good for a certain time period. I feel like, and he just never found a way to.
He never adapted.
Yeah, I'm the biggest Eminem fan, which was what makes me the biggest Eminem hater now, because I remember how good he used to be. So like, it hurts when I hear him trying to do the same thing he was doing before, or trying to do what he hears other rappers doing successfully now. Like, I heard him trying to do like Wayne punchlines and trying to do like that.
Sometimes
type of stuff
people
when
are just better on drugs.
It's
fam.
not
okay.
you.
It's okay.
I didn't want to say that,
You know what's funny though?
Yeah, but like, no doubts around it. Like,
Honestly, with what Charlie just said, I've had people tell me that too. They're just like, look, like Eminem was better when he was on something.
That being said, I don't want him to go back to drugs.
Yeah,
you
you
know what I
don't.
mean? Because that mess up your life and all that thing. But I'm just saying.
Only reason I don't agree 100% is because there is Eminem music he was making on drugs that I still don't like.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I don't agree 100%.
Like,
but I agree
would
like
you say the Encore
98%.
album? The Encore album was.
I wasn't a fan of like.
Yeah.
I was like a Slim Shady LP, Marshall Mathers one.
I say okay, Slim Shady LP, Marshall Mathers one, and I would say the Eminem Show. Like those
Eminem
three,
Show, yeah.
you can't touch those
Encore.
three albums.
Encore is probably where I started to fall off, to be honest, and he was still on drugs then. So like, that's the only reason I don't
Yo,
agree.
you know what I
100%.
want to know? Big question is like, It's like, why do you like Eminem so much?
Actually, I remember when Relapse came out. Scotty, did Eminem watch one of your videos?
Yeah.
Didn't he? Yeah. It was a competition.
I was second place for the #1 stamp competition.
Yeah.
Jeez, okay.
North America wide. He signed a copy of the CD and wrote me a letter and shit.
I
See you, IV.
So but I just feel like he's my first example of hearing something that was completely fresh and brand new. Like the same way people like Kanye West, like because he's just doing something completely brand new you never heard before.
Yeah.
The first time I ever heard My Name Is on the radio, I had that feeling of what is this? You know what I mean? And it just fascinated me more so than anything about him. It was just the fact that this guy came, looked completely different, sounded completely different, was saying something completely different than anybody else ever before. And I know that's something that I want to do. You know what I mean? Now, being older, I understand why that fascinated me. You know what I mean? So I stuck to it. But I think that's why. I guess that's why.
But why is it that? Because when you think about the best MCs, right? And actually, a little later on, we're gonna talk about this top 100 hip hop song list that BBC came out with. But if you think about the top MCs, the ones that are always in like top living right now, the ones that are always in question, or the ones that always are brought up, are like Jay-Z, Nas, Eminem. Why is it that Eminem, in your opinion, hasn't been able to have a similar career as Jay-Z when it comes to longevity? Because Jay-Z, he's turning 50 in December.
Right.
I think if he drops a new album next year, it's gonna be heavy, man.
But it's simple. Like he just stayed around long enough to get whacked. You know what I mean? Like whereas Jay-Z still just continues to just get better and continues to reinvent himself.
Making songs.
He's had slips, but 444 was one of the best albums I ever heard.
Oh, me too.
No, but what I'm
Hands
trying
down.
to say is Jay-Z been knowing how to like make songs.
Yeah.
And Eminem is still a rapidy rapper.
Right.
Fam.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
at this
Right.
day and
And
age,
that's another thing.
the rapidy rapper, you can still be out here, but
Right.
like you don't have as much
You're right.
room
to play
in the
with.
game. Like, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
That's the one thing you can do. You're kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Right.
That's another thing Tyler
you.
said in the interview as well. He's like, yo, the thing about like rappers like Jay-Z is like you put on a beat, Jay-Z knows how to do exactly what that beat needs. Like he's not gonna scream on
It's the
every
king of the
record.
flow, man.
Yeah,
King
you
of
know
the
what I
flow.
mean? He's gonna give you exactly
And
what
I feel like even if you can't, you have to at least know what you need to make it what it is, which is why Nas is still there. Because I feel like he's not the greatest hook writer or anything like that, but or even Jay-Z himself. I don't even think he's the greatest hook writer, but he just knows what a song needs or what voice needs to be there for it to be a great song still. And M, being a lyricist, didn't have that ability, even though he couldn't write the song, he didn't have the ability to know how to make it a song without somebody from the outside stepping in and curating it, you know?
Yeah.
Are there any battle rappers that like make songs? Like they're self-acclaimed battle rappers? Like how many have like really made that crossover to be like, yo, I make songs now?
Like actually like a nice, like well put together song that's like Grammy nominated or something like that, or what?
Eminem was the only one.
Yeah, I think Eminem was.
I can't think of. I think Eminem is the closest thing that you could even.
Oh, it was JJ.
Black.
Who?
Black was a battle rapper.
Battle rapper.
Oh, actually, eh? Oh, I had no idea.
No. But like
The singer you?
Yeah.
But like a lot of artists, almost every rapper though has battled or been a battle rapper.
Yeah.
But
What about Meek?
he wasn't. I wouldn't call him a battle rapper either.
He
though.
was a battle. I feel like you from Philly, you're a battle rapper.
That's what I mean. Like, if you're from Philly, you have to be able to battle.
At some point in time, you're a battle rapper.
Beanie Siegel is probably like
Or
or like a Beanie Siegel
Or
or
Freeway.
like a Freeway or like those Philly. You had it.
It's like these Philadelphia rappers. Well, it's funny because I don't think Meek Mill though, and this is probably a hot take, but Meek hasn't made anything that's like Grammy level on the level of M like in his career yet.
No.
He probably will.
But like,
His last album was a classic.
Championships. Oh yeah, Championships was dope.
but to me, you
I
always
still play that like back to front.
Yeah, that was a strong record because I never was a huge Meek fan, and Championships.
I
was
feel like in those conversations, you also have to consider like for one the politics and for two like the ability to market the project. Because like going back to Jay-Z, that's something that he's always done well as well. He's not depending on like the music entirely. He's like, yo, I got Samsung to buy 1 million copies. Like,
it was the smartest security blanket ever.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, oh, if it's a numbers game, then I already got the numbers. Like, what are you talking about? It's a classic.
It was platinum before it came out.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And like that's something that I feel like people don't consider a lot is that like, yo, M had a machine. Like Dre had already been successful at doing it. You know what I mean? So it's like he's already gonna be put in a platform where it's like, yo, we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what the hard thing when it comes to being like a battle rapper or something that's not hot and you're trying to blow. If you're doing that from scratch, like you're in for a hard battle.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But one thing I did want to talk to you guys about is everyone and their mothers coming out with these top 50 rapper lists. And it's hilarious to see. Like, I think Schoolboy Q actually tweeted out, like, you know, imagine being somebody's 48th ranked rapper. but on the same vein, and I feel like a lot of this probably came out of it was the BBC in the UK, and shout outs to the UK hip hop scene. It's pretty dope.
Yeah.
UK grime, UK hip hop. Shout outs to Strictly Steel. He's probably listening to this.
Hey.
They came out with the greatest hip hop songs of all time list. So the BBC Music polled over 100 critics in 15 countries to find the best hip hop song ever. And they've actually provided on this article the top 25 list. We'll tweet it out right now in case you want to check it out. But yeah, they talked to a bunch of people. I think they talked to like Common and Cardi B and a bunch of other folks to get their perspective on it. I think they're really trying to make a cohesive list. Actually, first and foremost, what are you guys' thoughts on lists? Do you think lists should exist?
They're dumb.
Super
dumb still.
I think they're good just to like, if you're able to get past which we can't because like we're so like short-minded in this era. If you're able to really get past just like your emotions, you could really explore a lot in regard to just like the history of hip hop or whatever the list is. You know what I mean? I feel like there's a lot to be taken from it, and just it existing is really dope to get people's perspective because like no matter what, it does still consider a lot. Like, for instance, this BBC list, what was it? Like, they polled, like, they went 15 critics.
It was
100 critics.
How old are these critics?
So they actually have.
That's my first question.
Wait, they asked
how old are these critics?
108 critics, artists, tastemakers, producers, and photographers too, from 15 different countries to name their personal top 5 hip hop tracks of all time. There are more than 280 different songs named, and I guess they just compiled it.
Compiled the list. That's dope. I think that's dope.
Yeah, it's a good sample size.
I don't respect the list unless all of those critics were like 20 and under still.
Like 20 years old?
20 and under.
No, I think
I don't respect it because here's how I view, if you're gonna be like ever, you can't take anybody that grew up listening to that list of people. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Because like the way I look at great music, like you go back and listen to like Motown and stuff like that. I didn't grow up in that era, but I can go back and appreciate that, right? So if someone's like, that was the best music ever, I could be like, if you poll like younger kids that can still appreciate that, to me that means, okay, sure, you came out in a specific era, people loved it then, but if you can love it and you were not even close to that generation, then that music was great. That's how I look at it. If you grew up in the time that this music was coming out and this, that, and whatever, to me the list is tainted. Yeah. Because it was great to you and your generation.
But I feel like a lot of the lists are like cultivated through like a period of time as well, right? It's like it existed for this long, and these are the things that were affecting the world that also affected why that music was so great. You know what I'm saying? Like when it comes to like jazz, when it comes to like even the beginnings of hip hop and everything that it meant, it's like you have to consider like the political climate or like what was going on at that time as well. Like there's a lot that goes into it, which is why you have to appreciate the older heads as well that are you know a part of the list.
Yeah, it just has to be a good representation, a good representation of the fan base of that genre.
But
if it's
Charlie,
greatest hip hop songs of all time, then it should have a good
Charlie's point
representation of all hip hop fans who are age whatever to age whatever, male, female. Like, as long
I'm saying, if you're talking about the best, right? Because you're saying like of all time,
yeah.
So if it's of all time, you can't take people that grew up in that time. It has to stand time, right? So that then you got to look at the people that are after whatever period of time has passed. The people that are like young now and like are saying what's hot now. If they don't like it, not to say that means it's a bad song, but I mean like maybe it isn't one of the greatest songs of all time. You know what I'm saying? Like pick.
So that means a song can be one of the greatest of all time.
A song can be, but like,
if time passes, it's not one of the greatest of all time anymore.
No.
I'm saying kind of go into the future.
So that's what I'm saying. So let's say the kids right now, they're 20 and under. They say this is the greatest of all time, right? We make a list, and then number one on the list. In 10 years, those kids are not checking for that number one anymore.
No, but what I'm saying is a good song will be a good song forever. That's how I look at it. Like, a really good song is a good song forever. It transcends
that's what I mean.
years and this and whatever.
Be the greatest of all time, but it can also become
Like
not the greatest of all time. Yeah.
If we go through the list.
Yeah, we're going straight philosophical.
Yes, existential.
It's like from now till infinity.
That's what I like about lists. Is we have conversations like this. It makes us think about every aspect.
Which is why I wanted to bring it up on the show, because even the top 25, the youngest song is from 2015.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
The youngest song,
and that is number 25.
The newest song on the list.
The newest song is from 2015.
All right, 2015.
So yeah, Kendrick. Actually, I think it's a tie. So 25. It's a tie between
Outkast, Rosa Parks.
Yeah, Outkast, Rosa Parks, and Kendrick's "All Right"
is tied.
Which I don't know, man. That's not bad, because "All Right" by Kendrick, I think, is one of his
very
killer
scary.
songs.
And No Dice didn't make the cut, eh?
Guys are sleeping fast.
Way too much to make the cut.
It's gonna be the CBC's list. The CBC's.
That's crazy.
All the CBC's 2015 didn't make the cut. God damn.
Yo, let's go through the top 10.
All right, let's do it.
So number 10, because actually, or do you want to do top? Or want to do the whole 25? I'll name the 25, and you guys, I'll name the 25, and just shout out whatever comes to mind when I say it, but don't swear. Don't swear. Okay, so 25, it's a tie between All Right, Kendrick Lamar, and Rosa Parks. How do we feel about that? That's okay, right? Like, Rosa Parks is a legendary track, though.
I almost feel like Rosa Parks is a better song than All Right.
I think the reason why they both sat there is because of like the political.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Probably the political message around it.
Because All Right was huge.
It was like an anthem for like protests
in
and
the Black
stuff.
Lives Matter situation. It was like huge, which that's why I'm happy it's on the list, because it did do something like amazing.
So 24 is All the Lights, Kanye, Rihanna, Kid Cudi.
Mm-hmm.
23 is Grinding Clips. I think I'd probably put that a little high. 22 is Scotty IV's favorite track, Lose Yourself by Eminem.
I really thought you were about to say Scotty IV. Lose Yourself. All right.
21 was Doo Wop, That Thing by Lauryn Hill. Okay. 20 was this is actually before Lauryn Hill. International Players Anthem by UGK and Outkast.
International Players Anthem is like what I'm gonna walk down the aisle to.
Yeah, I love
that joint.
I love it.
I like this list so far.
Number 19 is UNITY, Queen Latifah, classic.
UNITY, huge.
Yo, I saw her perform that at the MTV Music Awards this year. Heavy. She just like showed up in like ride on a motorbike, just like with the big fur coat on. I was like, yo, this is dope.
Yo,
this is heavy.
I'm thankful for those moments, because like it seems like the old generation kind of took this crazy shift into being like talk show hosts.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, like,
and she has so much street cred too, man.
So it's dope to have those moments where you can reconnect with like your roots. You know what I mean?
We had number 18, F the Police, NWA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course.
Number 17, It Was a Good Day by Ice Cube.
Yo, always a vibe.
16, B.O.B. Outkast.
Bombs over Baghdad.
Yeah, of course.
That was big. That was
I remember when that track premiered on 106 in Park when I was a kid, man, and like it got standing O, because that video I never seen anything.
Yeah, that was one of the most insane videos ever.
I think that was a Dave Myers video too, and Dave Myers was always known for the Missy Elliott videos. I think he did that one as well, and it's just crazy. Number 15 is Troy, They Reminisce Over You, which is
one of my like top 10 joints.
Yeah, that's
Colorblind Photography's tune as well.
I think that's top 10.
That's one of my top 10 joints ever.
Number 14, Rapper's Delight, Sugar Hill Gang.
Yeah.
Number 13, Paid in Full, Eric B. Rakim.
How is that not one of the best?
Paid in Full?
Nah, fam.
Which one?
Rapper's
Delight. It's roots, man. It's roots.
Is that a good song?
Yeah, you can still play it now.
I respect it, but like, is that a good song, fam?
It's one of the greatest
Yeah.
hip hop
Really?
songs of all time.
But
Like, if
when
you
he
just
actually
said, "Yo, boom,"
That's
hip-hop, I'm
the
sure-
hill you're gonna stand on.
Yeah, if you
Yo,
said the word
I-
hip hop, and
I'm not gonna lie. I'm with you. There's no point in time where I'm bumping that. But like, I feel like it's real. It's one of the flaws of hip hop, mostly more than anything, is that like, bro, you just gotta respect the OG.
No,
yeah,
but
that song's iconic.
but the funniest is
In a crowd of a million people, if you just say the word hip hop, I'm sure in like at least 30% of the people's minds that
No.
music is gonna play in their
when you
head.
actually, but when you actually find out, how that song was made, like Hip Hop Evolution talked about it on Netflix, about how like
Hip Hop Evolution.
Yeah, shout out to Hip Hop Evolution. When they talked about that song, it was the most like that was actually what I would say. Rapper's Delight probably is the most was like the first commercial hip hop song because the way it was constructed, it was like this A&R that was like, oh, we need to jump on this hip hop craze, and then they started just getting these rappers just selling out pretty much and doing this track.
It's the first big tune. You know?
I feel like Jay wants to say something.
I'm quick with it. I think it's the most important hip hop song pre like 2000s.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, without that, wasn't the first #1 hip hop song or something like that?
So what are we talking about
to
with
be
this
on the
list then? So we're not talking like sonically good
We're not just
songs. We're
saying
saying
everything.
songs that mean in the moment. All right.
Impact. How good does it sound? How did it make you feel?
Yeah. Even like
What was
historical
happening
significance
around
too. Yeah,
that time, like greatest.
Number 12, Runaway, Kanye and Pusha T. Well, that's pretty high up.
Wow, that got it.
That's a
that's
Runaway.
That's pretty high up there. Wow.
Runaway's
Number 11, one of my favorites, Electric Relaxation, Tribe Called Quest.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Tribe. Number 10. Okay, now we're getting to top 10. So we can let's chime in a bit more on this. Number 10, you had Dear Mama, Tupac Shakur, classic. Classic.
That is a classic song.
huge.
Number 9, New York State of Mind, Nas. Yeah,
I didn't know.
hands down. Number 8, Passing Me By, The Far Side.
Also on my top 10 list.
100%.
Also
100%.
on my top 10 list.
Number 7, 93 Till Infinity, Souls of Mischief.
Yeah.
That I feel like that one's close to at least like these three mans. Right
Yeah,
here.
I remember it. I remember that.
We made the list.
Number 6, Cream by Wu-Tang. 6. Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
I actually, it's interesting.
Didn't make the top 5.
No, it didn't make top 5, especially after watching a Mike Cement and hearing about how they came up with that too. Like it was crazy. Number 5. Okay, now let's get to the top 5. Number 5, Nothing But a G Thing, Dre and Snoop.
Wow.
Number 4, The Message, Grandmaster Flash and Furious 5, which is probably the first conscious hip hop record, I would say. Number 3, okay, the top 3. Shook Ones is number 3 with Mobb Deep. Number 2, Fight the Power, Public Enemy. And number 1, Juicy by Notorious B.I.G.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the greatest hip hop song.
So what are the thoughts on that? The number 1. So I think personally, when you think about Juicy, you think about it being the one song
Like Grandmaster Flash.
that a lot
Yo, I'm surprised my black was on that.
There was no Jay-Z
Yeah,
song.
there was no Jay-Z on that entire list.
There is no.
Actually,
But okay, so no Jay-Z. That's one. That's actually really.
That's a big takeaway.
That
That's a huge
is.
takeaway. They need to know they did something wrong.
and the fact they surveyed over 100 people
And not one Jay-Z song made the list.
Yeah, but everybody knows Jay-Z's struggle, bro. When you get it out the mud, when you're indie, people disrespect you all the time.
So actually, they have a follow-up article saying like just things that came up.
Like feedback after.
Yeah. So not all the East Coast heavy hitters are represented though, with Nas and Notorious B.I.G. on the list. It's glaring that Jay-Z, usually the third when it comes to rap legends, is omitted. Strong arguments.
Jay-Z's on everybody's top 5, but
I know.
Number 3 forever.
So apparently the songs that made, I don't know what rank these songs were, but songs that were considered were Hard Knock Life and Big Pimpin'. And then BBC apparently claims that Empire State of Mind is a total miss for not being on any part of the list.
I think I want to wait 10 years and see if that song still registers.
What?
Empire State of Mind?
Yeah.
It's his biggest song.
It's a huge song. It's like one they use a lot in
Like it's huge.
trailers for movies.
It's huge.
chick
It is
flicks.
huge. I just don't know. I just don't know if it's timeless like that. Maybe it will be. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we can't tell that now, right?
But do you guys agree with number 1? Like Juicy? Like I find that with Juicy and Notorious B.I.G., it's the one song that people love rapping.
Yo, I'll tell you this. The one thing that I did feel, and if you've been to the UK, you understand, is that like those mans love Biggie on a different level.
Really, eh?
Yeah.
It's like I'm not surprised to see Juicy at the top because they're like weird with Biggie. They love him.
Really?
Yeah.
I never been to the UK. Like I never been to England, so I wouldn't know.
I
but
wouldn't
yeah.
put Biggie I don't like Biggie.
Really?
I'm not a Biggie fan.
I'm more of a Biggie guy than Tupac, admittedly. I'll just throw it
I'm
out
big
there.
on Tupac.
They like, yo, you just said that live on air,
I wouldn't be rapping if it wasn't
we
for
can
Tupac
delete.
still.
We can delete audio.
That's getting saved. That's getting super safe, bro. Yeah, I mean
delete that, right? Are we good?
Yeah. My
Shout out to my New York man. But,
He's being what that's satire. That's satire. He's just
Actually, just to open this up, because we know we're all Canadian here. What would be the top Canadian song in your eyes? without laughing.
Trust issues.
Trust issues like great.
Bacardi slang. We'll give it to Bacardi slang.
With the Cardinal for sure.
I was listening to that the other day. Still, I'm gonna lie.
I put Old Time Killing over Bacardi Slam.
I do the same.
All time killing. I think those joints need to get revisited now because of the popularity of like Toronto culture, Toronto slang, and all that shit. We need to go back and recognize.
It was ahead of its time.
But
But Bacardi slang, old time killing, like you got like Cardi needs to get his flowers because he was doing all that.
Did Cardi not get? Is Cardi not getting his flowers? Cardi been getting his flowers, bro. Everybody likes him
from
now,
us.
you know
Like he's been getting his flowers from
He's like
us.
he's like the ambassador. Yeah.
But like
I was talking.
That's as far as it goes.
That's what he needs.
Huh?
He's a documentary.
Does he?
Yeah.
But you know what? I feel like
that whole era really is like Socrates,
yeah.
Claire, all those mans need a documentary.
So I actually had that conversation with Shad a few weeks ago. I managed to interview Shad for the show, and then we were talking about hip hop evolution. And I told him, like, dude, it'd be kind of cool if you did do a Toronto version of it, because I think Toronto's contributions to the scene aren't totally known, but there's a lot there. Like, there's a lot of people from New York that got influence from Toronto. Like, it's nice to see the fact that Drake is, number one running hip hop, but no one's paying attention to Toronto past
which
that.
still trips me out every now and then.
Northern Touch would be my number one still.
Oh, Northern Touch for sure.
Northern Touch?
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ain't nobody can bang with us.
I think that track turned 10 this year.
Muddy J's hard.
Muddy J.
Muddy J's
My
hard.
favorite is Take a Look in My Eyes by Infinite. It's a deep.
With the animated video? With the animated video?
The animated video. Like,
That song made you, if you were ever wearing a hoodie and you were wearing that song and you were listening to that song, hoodie up, clothes. Now you just.
Oh, shit.
No, you know
I'm
what?
gonna play that song in my wedding, bro. First dance, bro. Take a look in my eyes.
Fam, your wife will be lit if she ever let you do that, fam.
See, I'm gonna marry there's those
I'm gonna
ad-libs in
marry
the
the girl that
background.
lets me do that.
Those ad-libs, there's like envy.
Lust.
Original Toronto slang, yo.
Yo, you know what was actually? I actually saw Maestro perform a few weeks ago too at a show I was at, and dude, actually a part of his set. Kudos to Maestro Freshwise. He does his Too Much remix verse.
No way.
And I was like, yo, this is crazy because he's just like, oh, da-na-na-na, and he's like, get the whole crowd up. And then I remember like that being like a heavy verse because like that was I think like Maestro hadn't. I think ever since that 416 905 track, I think he was like not on the grid for a bit. And then he showed up on the Ghetto Concept Too Much remix and just like shut it down, man.
I used to play on the flow, the original flow, like all the time. All the time.
Easy to slip. Solitaire.
Ooh.
That record was hard.
That was a hard track.
It's so easy to slip.
Yo,
Stick to your vision, Maestro, too, man. Stick to your vision, like bars.
Let's Ride.
Let's Ride Chocolate.
I saw him live actually at Rec Room by accident. Yeah. 2 weeks ago, I was like, just out.
What's that one where he's like, I got a rocket in my pocket?
A dude was at the bar.
A dude was at the bar?
Socrates.
A random dude was at the bar and he was like sauced.
Okay, yeah.
And like this guy looks oddly familiar. And I'm telling everybody I'm with that, yo, that guy looks like Chocolate. Like, that's hilarious. I'm just joking. Then the guy walks onto the stage and then the lights come on. And he starts doing Let's Ride. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy.
But yo, kudos to those guys for still being out there, though.
That's what made me realize. I'm like, yo,
Kudos
these
to
guys are still out here doing it, which I respect.
Did any man ever go through like a chaos phase?
Of course. Of course.
Come on, bro.
I actually, me and Ahmed got to go see Chaos DJ at the AGO a few years ago, and we got to talk to him a bit, man. He's cool, man. And you know what's cool about Chaos and what's cool about Cardi? Like, those guys have, like, industry credibility, too. Like, Chaos, like, sat in with the Roots one time for Late Night with Jimmy Fallon. Like, it's just crazy how, like, they've been able to get that type of props.
Facts.
Even, like, Socrates, man. You think of the Brick House EP. Like, that's, like, legendary stuff where you had, like, Common and all these conscious people, like, buying into it. Like, all this stuff needs to be documented, man.
Facts.
I just get all these dudes in a room with you guys and just kill it.
Real shit.
I don't even know if this is hip hop, but shout out Jack Soul one time.
Oh, yeah.
R.I.P. R.I.P., right?
R.I.P. Yeah, the lead singer.
R.I.P.
Yeah,
R.I.P.
man. Yeah,
That-
guys.
Jellystone, the hood is here, fam.
The hood
In the RX, bro. You gotta.
Money can't buy me happiness.
Money
man.
can't buy me
Come on.
happiness.
Classic.
Even Drake mentioned that on
changes
Western
the
Road
game.
Flows.
That
man.
changes the game.
That actually got
Money can't buy me
Jellystone. I'm pretty sure that Western Road
Money
Flows
can't
verse
buy me
got Jellystone a bag in like 2016 or something.
Crazy. Shout out
He got a little upswing on the YouTube hits.
Shout out Jelly, bro.
Guys, this was a lot of fun. We got to wrap this segment up, unfortunately, but I'll give you guys an opportunity to plug whatever you're doing. Obviously, we got some new releases. Scotty, you just came with a new video. Charlie, you got some new music out. Trey, you've been racking up some numbers on Spotify, all that.
On Tuesday, I'm actually doing a panel at the Panellists in Toronto. So if you want to come see me talk some more, I'll be
Great
there.
plug.
And on Thursday, a dance party at the Drake. It's like an art installation / dance party. Shout out to Giles Monet. That's gonna be fire. And then I'm doing something with actually Airbnb called Toronto Hip Hop Sound on the 7th or 17th of November. And then we're going back to Montreal to do M for Montreal Festival.
Oh, nice, man. Nice. Montreal's a good market for you guys, eh?
Yeah.
That's
It's been
awesome.
beautiful. It's been beautiful.
Scotty, what about you, man?
Yeah, the No Dice video just dropped 2 days ago, so
Fire.
Friday just dropped. So make sure you go to the Stay Out Late Instagram or go to Scotty IV Instagram or whatever platform.
Or Peep the
and
Fader.
run up
Yeah,
the
you guys-
streams.
I saw the
And
Fader
today
feature. Congrats.
we got the Fader. So go to the Fader first just to show them some love, and then make sure you check out the video. It's me, it's Charlie Noir, it's Tahir, directed by Ashley Harris, co-directed by Jay Parks, and a group of a bunch
All
of
right.
other
Jay
amazing
Parks, get behind the
people.
lens.
And co-directed by myself too.
All-purpose media group. Stay out late. We're an all-purpose media group.
Check me out. Go run up streams on the Spotify, Scotty IV.
You guys need like all-purpose t-shirts, just like all-purpose.
Charlie talk that talk.
Charlie, what about you, man?
You done a very scary music video out on the 30th.
Okay.
Next single dropping like the 25th of November still, and it's for the Gallum, so you know, you know what it is.
100%. And you already know we got a rep for Casino Costa with the Petty
Petty
Tendergrass.
Yes.
Petty
Hey,
Tendergrass
Eric
release.
sent me that one. That one's dope. I like that.
Yeah, go check that out too.
Awesome.
November 4th at Burdock as well. I'm doing a
okay.
show with the homie I Am Creole. So
Nice. Nice.
show him some love, show me some love.
Busy, I guess, tail end of the year, then 2020. That's
Yeah.
it.
There's probably a
It's
bunch
a
of stuff that
blessing,
we
man.
didn't even remember. To say.
It's a blessing. Because November is usually slow down for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's good, though.
December. Slow down.
Well, guys, keep putting in that work. We're going to have to bring you guys back to talk more hip hop. But that's the Stay Late crew. We got
Hey.
Trey, Scotty.
Love it.
Thanks
Got
so
you
much,
a cigar.
man.
Thank you for having us on the show.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. And we got Charlie Noir. We got Eric. We got Jay in the building too. We're gonna take a quick commercial break, but when I come back, I'm gonna be joined by Phil Vessel. We're gonna talk the Sauga City Music Festival here on New Theory Radio on New Stock Sauga 960. We're gonna get started. And we are back here on New Theory Radio on News Talk Sauga 960 AM. My name is Nav Nanwa. I am your host. And this is the show where we theorize on all things current affairs, pop culture, and everyday life. A big shout out to Stay Out Late once again for being on the show and for holding it down for the last hour and a half. Now it is time for our community segment here on the show. And I'm so honored to be joined by an individual who's involved quite a lot in the community with different music shows, one being the IRE Festival, the TD IRE Festival that takes place each and every year in Mississauga. And now he's a part of another amazing initiative taking place next week, October 25th to the 27th, is the inaugural Sauga City Music Festival happening at the Living Arts Center. It is the artistic director?
Yes.
Artistic director, Phil Vessel. Phil, thanks so much for joining us here on New 3 Radio, man.
Pleasure to be here, man. Thank you for inviting us out.
Awesome. Representing University of Toronto. Is that where you went?
That's where I went.
I went to McMaster, so hopefully it's not awkward. But
No, nothing wrong with that.
yeah, exactly,
You know.
exactly. You know what? It's funny, and I'll just say it on the air. One of the reasons why I want to get you on the show is one of my really good friends is Noise, who's a big
Yes.
part of the festivities next week.
Absolutely.
And I saw his newsletter where he was promoting the Sauga City Music Festival, and being someone who grew up in the Peel region, I'm from the Brampton side, which probably explains why I'm wearing my built-in Brampton
I lived
sweater better.
Brampton for 17 years.
Oh, there you go. So you're a Peel Region guy just like
Yes.
me. Whenever I see any type of initiatives, whether it is the Sauga City Music Festival, the Mississauga Music Awards, which I was a part of a few weeks ago, whether it's the amazing work that the Mississauga Arts Council is doing, or whether it's even sort of the arts and culture scene that the city of Brampton is pushing forward, because I've done a lot of work with them as well. I love seeing these institutions pop up and allowing artists to have a platform and allowing them to really showcase what they're good at. And this event really caught my eye, man. 25th to the 27th, not just performances, but you have panels, you have I think a film also being shown as well.
We have a film retrospective. Basically, let me say thanks for giving us a chance to talk about this. And I do agree with you 100% about the importance of these things. We've had the TDI Music Festival going for 17 years.
Yeah, it's a mainstay in Mississauga.
And it's become a mainstay in Mississauga. And one of the things that we saw in the course of living in Peel, is the fact that unlike what we had done many years ago in creating a festival called the Toronto Urban Music Festival, a showcase for some of the up-and-coming artists in Toronto.
Was that a conference too?
We also had a conference.
Okay, so funny enough, I think I went to that in 2012. Was that at the Royal York?
Yes.
I went to that.
Yes.
Sorry, I did not know that. That's amazing. That was a great event. I remember I saw Cardinal and Director X speak at that event.
And the last time we had a show, which was at the CNE grounds, Cardinal and a whole slew of people closed that event. And then we went from the CNE, where we were for about a dozen years, to having what we called back then Urban Music Weekend Conference.
Nice.
So it was not just about celebrating the live performer in terms of musician. We also had spoken word. We also had something dealing with film that sort of thing. So here I am now, 2019, and looking around at what's in Peel in terms of reflecting the culturally diverse voices that we know live here. I mean, Mississauga and Brampton, much like Toronto, is rapidly becoming, one of the most culturally diverse regions in the GTA.
Yeah.
So we felt that, given the fact that you've got so much people here, a lot of young people pursuing their passions in terms of music especially, we wanted to provide a platform so that all the talent that people don't even know is from Peel could get a chance to shine.
Love it, man.
I mean, I'll tell you a little thing that I observed. A lot of cats, want to be able to say, I'm from the 6, I'm from Toronto. And from a marketing standpoint, I understand that. Okay? You go to New York and you say the words Brampton or Mississauga, it might not resonate quite as much as saying, I'm from Toronto.
Exactly.
So you find a number of artists I discovered were saying I'm from the GTA. And, I'm thinking, it's fine to say you're from the GTA, but you're also from Brampton. You're also from Mississauga. And just recently, Forbes magazine, the magazine, published a list of the top 30 innovators under 30 from Canada. And 2 of those actually were from this region. Wonder Girl was one, and Alyssa Cara was the other, and The Weeknd was a third. And we're talking about top 30 innovators, and Peel, which has a population of 1.4, 1.5 million, was representing with 2 of those top 30. So that underscores for me the level of talent that we have here, but that talent doesn't quite get the exposure. And then to add to that, take a look at Javier Mighty, the first female.
Killing it.
Okay, and the first rap artist to win the Polaris Prize.
We actually we interviewed her right after. We were at the Polaris. I've known Hawaii for quite some time. Actually, I booked her for a couple of shows that I've put on, and To see the trajectory that she's on, she totally deserves it, because she just has that energy, and winning the Polaris was, honestly, you see it. You see just the where she's going, and just how big her career is going to get now, because that's validation right there.
And to me, just those examples just speak to the potential that exists in this region once people are provided with the opportunity.
Exactly.
And the other thing I noticed in getting to this point was that there really aren't enough live venues for artists performing in R&B and hip hop and all the variants of that. Where do they get to perform it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're not big enough to be, to one of these halls, or at Celebration Square, or Paramount Center, where do you go?
And that's an issue that I know, talking to my friends at the city of Brampton that work for the city, that they see as well. Is they, outside of, and they've done a fantastic job opening the Rose Theater Studio as being like a spot where now they host a lot of programming. I've done shows there. I've seen a lot of other people do shows there, and it's constant programming. But outside of that, like outside of the local open mics or the bars, there aren't like proper venues available.
Yeah.
And the thing with Mississauga too, with the Living Arts, there is obviously some comparison with the Living Arts and the Rose Theater. It still means a lot for these artists to perform at these institutions, because they are cornerstones for both Brampton and Mississauga that have been known mainly for never really showcasing urban music.
And I think my sense is that the cities, and I'm talking largely Mississauga and Brampton.
Yeah.
Not Caledon so much. Although maybe the next time we're going to see a huge artist coming out of Caledon.
Hey, I say it all the time here on the station. We can't sleep on Caledon. Like, you never know. I feel like there's something boiling up there, and then they're just going to pop off.
It's going to pop. But the thing is, I think there's an increasing recognition that if the cities are going to be true to themselves, they're going to have to start recognizing, the talent, and provide a nurturing environment, nurturing spaces where that talent can express itself. One of the things all cities have to deal with now is the quality of life and the ability to attract young professionals and young people to stay in their cities, as opposed to migrating to Toronto, for example.
And that's something that I've seen with a lot of artist friends of mine, is they've grown up in Brampton, they've grown up in Mississauga, maybe some even grown up in Caledon, and there's no institutions, there's no venues, there's no development opportunities outside of maybe opportunities that may be at school that will allow them to finesse their craft. So then, to your point, they have to move to a city center like Toronto, sometimes they move to the US.
Oh, they go south, right? So it's, to me, it was, there is validation in hearing about Forbes. There's validation in having you winning the Polaris about the need for artist development.
Yeah, exactly.
Mississauga alone by itself is the 6th largest city in the country.
Huge.
How do you not cater to those needs if you're the city of Mississauga?
Yeah.
How do you not cater to those needs if you're the city of Brampton? Just look around. You have to provide for your citizens, and they're here. Mm-hmm. So to me, the time had come to say, here's a void that exists that isn't speaking to people with a passion for music, people with a passion for the arts. Even the film. We're showing a couple of films on the second day, and one of these films is Raising Cain, the rapumentary, a film made by a sister, Allison Duke, that used to write for Word Magazine from back in the day.
Wow.
Myself, I'm the co-founder of Word Magazine.
Wow, really?
It lasted for 20 years. And,
you should bring it back, man.
Well, who knows? Keep your fingers crossed. And the other film is Freestyle, The Art of Rhyme.
Love it.
And
is that the 40 Ounce Heroes film?
You have
Creators in Play with Phil.
You have a whole bunch of talent.
Yeah.
Notorious B.I.G., Mos Def, and a slew of guys. It took 7 years for Kevin Fitzgerald, who's the director, to make that film.
Because there was a similar film that a great collective in Mississauga by the name of 40 Ounce Heroes, aka Creators at Play, that also made around freestyle culture as well.
Yes.
And again, part of their job was to showcase how in cities like Mississauga, in Brampton, in the burbs, even in, obviously going to Toronto as well, how the elements of hip hop are alive and well in our local areas.
And are thriving.
100%.
You know what I mean? So we just feel that, we need to speak to that demographic, the millennials, the young people who are creating art, as it relates to these areas that we're going to be covering. And then beyond that, we're also talking about some of the issues. Okay? All those years of experience producing the Toronto Urban Music Festival, where we had a conference component, taught me that there was a real need for educating folks on the industry through industry experts. And then there's the additional opportunity of networking.
Yeah, exactly.
So for us, day one at the festival, we're dealing with the talks, as we call it. So we're going to be having everything from what does success from the 905 look like? Who are some of the success stories? How do you create a thriving, culturally diverse music scene in the Peel region? Side hustle is everything these days.
Oh, so, everything's a side hustle.
So we want to talk about side hustle as it relates to the music industry, because for a lot of people, they can't afford to make a living doing that. So for them, music is a side hustle.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I mean? And let's talk about how people are thriving and doing that. Because I saw something the other day. This is an article that I read in the Harvard Business Review that was saying that 40% of the U.S. economy is now the gig economy. Think about that.
Really? So people are literally living, gig to gig?
Gig to gig.
Wow.
Wow,
that's fascinating.
So how do you survive in that environment? Because this is the era where a lot of millennials are realizing they might not be as wealthy or able to afford a home the way our parents once did.
Yeah.
It's a totally different environment.
It totally is.
So we want to talk about those things, and we want to talk about, the whole side hustle. We want to talk about what success looks like, and just what does civic and community engagement even look like for a person of color? Because a lot of times we feel somewhat alienated from the municipality that we're in or the area that we live in. What does it mean to be civically engaged? And so we're not just saying, hey, let's talk about music, let's talk about hip hop, let's talk about, these two films that we're showing. But
it's a general dialogue.
We want to open up the dialogue.
I love it.
We want to open up the performance opportunities. So you can see Sheldon Sebastian, a young cat from Brampton. You can see Nav, who's from Malton.
Yeah.
You can see Renee Winter, who's a soul R&B singer, who lives steps from, steps from the venue at Living Arts Center. Or, you can catch Sauga, S4G4, as some people still refer to them as. You know what I mean? So we're saying, hey, come and look at Yes Way. Come and look at Hawaii Mighty. These are, in my view, people that have next. We know about the 6, but the 905's got next.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And if you look at the talent pool that is rising, it's pretty hard to dispute that.
That's awesome. That's a great way to sell it, man. That's a fantastic event. It's the Sauga City Music Festival taking place October 25th to the 27th at the Living Arts Center. Phil, plug it one last time, man.
Well, it comes this coming Friday. We kick things off over 3 days at the Living Arts Center. First day from 2 to 7, we have a number of panels, and this is an opportunity for us to have a dialogue. I wasn't even sure on whether I should call it a dialogue or the talks or the forum or the conference, because sometimes you say conference and it feels stiff. We don't want it to be that. We want it to be interactive. Let's open it up and talk. We go from that to Saturday with a couple of films, groundbreaking films. I believe Allison was one of the first to make a hip-hop documentary in this country.
Excellent.
Centered around Citizen Kane. And then there is obviously that whole film talking about the art of rhyming. Okay. Deep stuff. If you love all that retro stuff, this is a great evening to spend with us. Saturday, that goes from 6 to about 9. And then on Sunday is the big concert showcase starting at 6 o'clock and going until about 10.
Amazing.
So it's all there. And the best part of it,
it's all free.
It's all free, man. It's all free.
Honestly, Phil, thanks for coming on, man. I think what you're doing is fantastic. Already, the fact that I just found out that you did the Urban Music Conference back in Toronto, that was another fantastic initiative, and I'm glad that you're bringing it back home now with the Sauga City Music Fest. And congrats again on the success with the IRE Festival. You're doing a lot of amazing things for the community. Thanks for always putting on artists. I think I'm gonna have to get you on just to talk about some or help us theorize about a couple of topics. I feel like you're a wealth of knowledge, and you definitely have seen a lot in the Peel region. So we're going to bring you back on the show.
I got a little bit surprised the other day. I was talking to someone, and he says to me in the conversation, "So, man, you're an OG." I'm thinking,
but you are, but in a good way. In a good way.
I had to think about it for a second. But, we've been producing events, my wife and I. This is the 4th decade that we're producing event. The very first event I did was we produced a conference that Bishop Tutu spoke at.
Really?
During the anti-apartheid era.
Wow.
So we've been doing this for a while. And we're very passionate about community. And if we can elevate, the art form to where it can be a living arts center and those other spaces, then why not?
And what means a lot by just you telling me that journey is that you guys are ever evolving. Like, you're not just staying in one niche and just like, this is it, this is what we're going to be doing. Like, there's a lot of people in your position that have just stuck with the same thing time and time again. Like, you're ever evolving, you're understanding the needs of your community, and you're providing programming that matters to them. I commend you for that, Phil. I wanted to thank you for joining us here on New Theory Radio. That's again the Sauga City Music Fest. We'll provide some details in our program description. And that is it for this week's edition of New Theory Radio. If you want to connect with us, it's at New Theory Radio on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And it is at Nav Nanwa on Instagram and at nnanwa if you want to connect with me. The show will not be airing tomorrow because tomorrow is election night, but will be available as a podcast on Spotify and iTunes and newtheoryradio.com on Tuesday. Thanks so much for joining us, and you will hear all of us next time. Peace.
Stream us live at sauga960am.ca.